What's up, YouTube? It's your boy Nash here. Welcome back to the channel. Today I have my updated Sacred Beast deck profile for you guys today. This is a bit different from the last build, but what's cool about this is that it does run some dangers, but not a whole lot of them. There's only 3 copies of one specific danger and then 2 copies of another. So they work hand in hand together. This deck is absolutely insane. The extra deck is just as fire. The side deck is even more fire than you could ever imagine. But obviously you guys know I will be... Oh, sorry guys, my brother texted me. Anyway, I will be posting the deck list on my Instagram, so make sure you guys follow me on Instagram. The link is in the description. And not only that, but what's cool about this is that your main focus with this Sacred Beast deck is just to have Haman and Raviel on board. Like, if you have these two on board, you essentially have game because obviously Raviel can gain extra attack depending on what monster you tribute for its effect, and then Haman just acts as like a protection for the rest of the Sacred Beast, which is just absolutely insane. Not only that this took me about a few days. It took me a little bit of time to figure out the deck and figure out how which path I wanted to take, and this is more of a beatdown control style in my opinion. So it's a pretty good deck. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this deck profile. If you guys do and you guys want to see, and you guys want to see more deck profiles in the future, make sure you guys subscribe to the channel, give this video a thumbs up, and make sure you guys follow me on Twitter and on Instagram. The links will be in the description below. And if you guys do want to send me fan mail, you guys want me to open it up on the channel, the info will also be in the description as well. Anyway, guys, let's get straight into it. Obviously, if you are playing a Sacred Beast set, you gotta have the 3 Sacred Beasts: Haman, Raviel, and Uriah. Haman is really cool because Haman mainly just basically is like a protection. So its effect reads his effect reads: cannot be normal summon or set, must be special summon from your hand by sending 3 face-up continuous spells you control to the grave. If this card destroys an opponent's monster by battle and sends it to the grave, inflicts 1,000 damage to your opponent. While this card is face-up in defense, monsters your opponent controls cannot target monsters for attacks except this one. So this works in conjunction with Cerulean Sky Fire if you're able to bring this out. So, and what's cool about Cerulean Sky Fire, and I'll explain it a little bit further here in a bit once we get to the spells. But what's cool about Cerulean is that Skyfire acts as a sort of like a continuous spell version of Solemn Judgment, and it protects and it helps Haman further protect the monsters that you already have on board, which is really cool. Raviel is kind of an interesting one, but what's cool about this is that each of these Sacred Beasts have their own summoning mechanic. So obviously with Haman, you gotta send 3 face-up continuous spells you control to the graveyard. With Raviel, you need to tribute 3 fiend monsters, and then Uriah, well, you need 3 continuous traps. But obviously with the new Sacred Beast structure, there are multiple ways that you can bring them out really quickly. But with Raviel's other effect, it reads each time your opponent normal summons a monster, special summon 1 Phantasm token, which is a 1-star Dark Fiend with 1,000 attack and defense, but it cannot declare an attack. And then once per turn, you contribute a monster. This card gains attack equal to the attributed monster's original attack until the end of the turn. So obviously, you contribute the token, and it becomes 5,000. But if you were really that greedy, if you were really that fucking greedy, you could actually go for Haman. Tribute Haman, he gains Raphael gains 8,000. You have game. If you were really that greedy, but obviously you're not gonna go. You're not gonna be that fucking greedy by tributing a Sacred Beast, because you want to try and get the Sacred Beast on board while having cards from your extra deck on board, such as possibly a Saint Freddy Lower Omega, a Zeus, 107, number 23, Access Code, the Nightmares, Link Turbo. If you're able to have any of those with the Sacred Beast on board, you essentially just win the duel easily. And then Uriah is kind of a weird one, because he basically acts as Slifer the Sky Dragon, but instead of having cards in the hand, it is cards in the graveyard. And what I mean by that is that Uriah gains 1,000 attack for each continuous trap in your grave. And then once per turn, you can target a set spell or trap your opponent controls and destroy it. So this acts as sort of like your MST of sorts, which is really cool. But not only that, you also have some other back row removal in the deck, in the form of Danger Bigfoot and Danger Thunderbird, which I'll explain those here in a bit. And not only that, what's even more cool about Uriah is that no other spells or traps can be activated in response. So no matter which card you target, your opponent cannot activate a card like say Psalm Warning or a Psalm Strike to negate the effect of Uriah, which is really good. Now for the rest of the Sacred Beast cards, as far as the monsters go, we have 2 copies of Dark Summoning Beast, 3 Dark Beckoning Beasts, and 3 Chaos Summoning Beasts. Dark Summoning Beast was released in Duelist Saga. Truth be told, we never got this card printed until Duelist Saga, which is pretty crazy. But if you guys have never seen this card before, it's a 5-star Dark Fiend with 0 attack and defense, and its effect reads: you can tribute this card, special summon one of the 3 Sacred Beasts, which could be Uriah, Haman, or Raphael, from your hand or deck, ignoring its summoning conditions. Also, monsters you control cannot attack for the rest of the turn. You can only use this effect once per turn. You can banish the card from your grave, add one of the Sacred Beasts from your deck to your hand. So not only is this a way for you to thin out your deck, to go into to get to your hand traps, your field spells, and whatnot. This is a way for you to get your board started, if you will. This is one of the main board starters for the whole deck, and it can easily help you go into Haman. You can then activate Monster Reborn to resummon Dark Summoning Beast, and then if you never committed to your normal summon, you could then activate Dark Beckoning Beast, trigger its effect to get out Chaos Summoning Beast, trigger and then summon Chaos Summoning Beast off of Dark Beckoning Beast, and then you basically have 3 materials to go into a Nightmare Unicorn if you were that confident. So it's a pretty nice combo. And then of course Dark Beckoning Beast is basically your Stratos. These are like your Stratos for your deck. So Dark Beckoning Beast has a pretty cool effect where you can just Stratos out one of the 3 Sacred Beasts, or a card that lists the Sacred Beast in the text of the card. In which case, you could add Awakening of the Sacred Beast, Fallen Paradise, Opening of the Spirit Gates, Cerulean Sky Fire, even Dimension Fusion Destruction, which I'm actually running in this deck, which is hilarious, as well, which is really cool. And then what's even more cool about this card is that this basically acts as a double summon. So once the card is normal summon, you can then normal summon again off of the effect of Dark Beckoning Beast, in which case you were normally going to go into Chaos Summoning Beast to get out one of the Sacred Beasts if you have it in your hand, which is really cool. But this also acts as a terraforming for Fallen Paradise. I decided so that's why I decided to take out the terraforming and add in the Fallen Paradise, is because you guys know Fallen Paradise is essentially a pot of greed. Not much else to say about that. This deck, just these cards alone are just absolutely insane, absolutely nutty. And then for the dangers, we got 3 Bigfoot and two Thunderbird. Bigfoot is basically another form of spell trap removal. So its effect reads, you can you guys know all the dangers have the same first effect, where it says you can reveal this card in your hand. Your opponent randomly chooses one from your entire hand. Then you discard the chosen card. Then, if the discarded card was not insert name, which in this case Bigfoot or Thunderbird, then you get to special summon Bigfoot or Thunderbird from your hand and draw 1 card. But each of the dangers has their own second effect. Bigfoot's second effect reads, if this card is discarded, you can target 1 face-up card your opponent controls and destroy it. You can only use this effect once per turn. Thunderbird says that you can target a set card your opponent controls, which is mainly the back row that you're going to be targeting. You're not going to target the front lines as often as you may think, unless if you have Access Code Talker or a Nightmare Unicorn. Then yes, obviously you will be targeting the back. You will be targeting the front lines, but these dangers are the more better ones, rather than have any of the others, because a card like Ogopogo is basically a foolish burial, which is not the best. It's not the best. Dogman is kind of an interesting one, because you could target all of your opponent's monsters that they control, and they lose 1,000 attack, which is kind of okay. Nessie is basically a Stratos, where you can just add another danger to the hand. Mothman is basically Dark World Dealings, which is just simple. Chupacabra is basically monster reward for the dangers. And then Tsuchinoko acts as a Cyber Dragon. Jackalope is okay. You get to summon another danger from your deck, but those don't matter, honestly. In this deck, those don't matter compared to Bigfoot and Thunderbird, because they can just easily wipe out your opponent's back row really quickly, which is really, really good. Then for the hand traps, we got 2 Ash and 2 Bell. You guys know Ash, Bell, Ogre, 3 of the best Ghost Sister hand traps in the game right now. And then the 1 Doomsday Horde. Now the reason I have this, shoutouts to Dr. Pepper, not sponsored, love Dr. Pepper. Anyway, the reason why I have the one and lone copy of Doomsday Horde is this. Dark Summoning Beast, Chaos Summoning Beast, and I believe those are the only ones, and Allure of Darkness are the only cards in the deck that force you to banish cards. So obviously with Dark Summoning Beast, the second effect, as I said, says you can banish the card from your grave, add 1 of the Sacred Beasts to your hand. Chaos Summoning Beast, when you banish it, it acts as a terraforming for Fallen Paradise. The Dark Beckoning Beast, on the other hand, does not have that effect, but Allure of Darkness says draw 2, banish the dark from your hand. Plain and simple. You're gonna be doing a lot of banishing with this deck, and Doomsday Horde just allows you to recycle those your dark monsters back into your graveyard. But if you if you have any back row that were banished, then ciphering Lord Omega is like the biggest is like the best card to put them back into your graveyard if you don't have Doomsday Horror. If Doomsday Horror was discarded off of the effects of the dangers, then Omega is like your best bet. It's your best bet to recycle your cards that were banished back into your graveyard, which is really good. And another thing too, Doomsday Horror's effect is kind of funny, but it reads, this card's attack and defense are equal to the number of banished dark monsters times 300, which could be both your banished pile and your opponent's, which is hilarious. But its second effect is even more funny. If this card is destroyed and sent to the grave, return all banished dark monsters to the graveyards. Meaning both yours and your opponents. But if you're going up against, like, say, I'll say Lureless Tri Brigade as an example, then it's basically a one-sided Omega, which is really good. Moving on into the spells, there's a pretty good plethora of spells. We've got 2 copies of Allure of Darkness. Again, going with what I said with Doomsday Horror. You can banish cards, yeah, but Doomsday Horror will be the biggest card. Will be the biggest threat to the deck, or rather to your opponent, as you will be able to recycle your cards back into your graveyard, which is really cool. Monster Reborn, I'm not so sure if you're able to special summon the Sacred Beast off of the effects of Monster Reborn. I don't think you can. I know it does. I know that it doesn't say, but I'm pretty sure you can, which is pretty cool. Which is pretty nice. Then of course we got Call By. Obviously you want your place to go through, so Call By, you gotta have it. Dimension Fusion Destruction. This is probably one of the worst cards in one of the biggest bricks in the deck. Yes, it is a poly to summon out, Armatel the Chaos Phantom, or Armatel Phantom of Fury, but here's the effect. Banish from your hand, field, and or graveyard the fusion materials that are listed on a Phantasm Fusion monster, then special summon that fusion monster from your extra deck, ignoring the summoning conditions. You take no battle damage from attacks involving the monster special summoned by this effect. If you control one of the 3 Sacred Beasts, your opponent cannot activate cards or effects in response. Yeah. But what's even more interesting is that Armatel's effect just says that it cannot be destroyed in battle, and that you gain 10,000 attack during your turn. Is that this card gains 10,000 attack? So this is basically like this would be like a good win condition if you were able to have it, if you were able to make it, which is like almost impossible. And then Phantom of Fury, and then of course with Phantom Fury, it's basically what Armatel had, or rather the effects of what Armatel had in the anime, basically. So not gonna say much about it, but this is basically your brick for the deck. But you can also truth be told, you can discard it off of the effects of opening of the spirit gates, which I'll explain here in a second, to trigger off Gates effect, which is really cool. Then of course we got the one super poly, and the only super poly target that we have is Starving Venom, which is pretty cool. But I didn't really have any more room. I had no room for a second or third super poly to have more super poly targets, but still super poly, really cool card. Cerulean Sky Fire, only 1 copy though. So if you guys have never seen this card before, the effect reads, to special summon Haman using its own procedure, you can also use face down spells you control. Once per turn, while you control an attack position Haman, you can negate any spell or trap effect activated by your opponent then change Haman to defense. So this is basically Haman on steroids. So it's as if you have a second Haman on board, which is really cool. Here's the kicker. Here's the next effect. If a face of Uriah, Haman, or Raviel you control leaves the field, you take no damage. So if Uriah were to get destroyed by battle, you don't take any damage. Plain and simple. Not much. It's not. There's really no other way to explain this card, except that it's a second Haman mixed in with a Solemn Judgment, which is really cool, which is like really good. Then of course we got the 3 opening of the Spirit Gates. This is basically their version of Dark Magical Circle, so to speak. So its effect reads: when this card is activated, add 1 Uriah, Lord of Soaring Flames, 1 Haman, Lord of Striking Thunder, or Raviel, Lord of Phantoms, or a monster that specifically lists any of those cards and text from your deck to your hand. So this basically is basically a Rhoda. It's basically Rhoda for the deck, which is really cool. And then the second effect reads: once per turn, you can discard a card, summon a fiend monster with 0 attack and defense from your graveyard. So obviously, if you have Dimension Fusion Destruction in your hand, and you know damn well that you're not going to be able to summon, and you know damn well you're not going to be able to summon Armor Tile or Phantom of Fury, you activate the second effect of Gate, send Fusion Destruction to the grave, resummon a card like, say, Dark Summoning Beast, trigger Dark Summoning Beast's effect, get out another Sacred Beast, and you're off to the races there, which is really cool. Then it has now this card has a third effect. There are 3 effects. The third effect reads: once per turn, if you control a level 10 monster, you can add 1 continuous spell from your grave to your hand. You can only activate 1 opening of the Spirit Gates per turn. The only other than Gate and Cerulean Sky Fire, you are not running any other continuous spells. There are no other continuous spells except the 1 Skyfire and then the 3 Gates. So you're not going to be using that third effect at all. You're only going to be using this card for its first and second effects, which is pretty cool. And now for the field spells, there are 5. I've got 3 Fallen Paradise and 2 Mounds of the Bound Creator. I did not realize it, but I completely forgot that the Sacred Beasts are 10-star monsters, and Mounds of the Bound Creator basically it's basically another version of Haman. So Fallen Paradise is basically Fallen Paradise and Creator are basically protection cards for your Sacred Beast. So they cannot be targeted or destroyed by card effects. But what's cool about Fallen Paradise is that this card basically acts as a it's basically a pot of greed. So if you have 1 or all 3 Sacred Beasts on your field, or if you have Armor Tile or Phantom of Fury, you get to draw 2 cards right off the bat. So it's essentially a pot of. So it's essentially it's as if you're running 5 pot of greeds with the 2 additions of the Allure of Darkness. And then Mound of the Bound Creator is a weird one, because its effect reads: level 10 or higher monsters on the field cannot be targeted or destroyed by card effects. So basically it's another version of Fallen Paradise. But here's where it gets really, really interesting. If a level 10 or higher monster destroys a monster by battle and sends it to the graveyard, the player who controlled the destroyed monster takes 1,000 damage. When this card on the field is destroyed by a card effect sent to the grave, you can add 1 divine monster from your deck to your hand. Obviously, you're not running any of the Egyptian god cards, but this is basically a way for you to deal even more damage to your opponent if you have Haman on board. So if you have Creator and Haman on board, and Haman attacks into a monster that's in also that has I'll say we'll say 0 attack. Let's just say that. That would be 4,000 damage to your opponent, plus an additional 2,000 to your opponent. 1,000 from Haman, 1,000 from Creator. Main phase 2, overlay Haman and Raviel. Make Gustav Max 2k to the face. That right there is an FTK right there, right off the bat. That's actually pretty nutty. But these are the only field spells I'm running. I'm not running Terraforming because with Fallen Paradise you're going to be drawing a lot of cards, and you'll easily go, and it can help you draw out your mounds of the Bound Creator really easily. So that's why I chose not to run the Terraforming. But for the traps, there's a pretty good lineup of traps. We have 2 copies. We have 2 copies of Waking the Dragon. There are 2 targets. Well, I'll explain those targets once we get to the extra deck. 2 copies of Imperm. Obviously Imperm is still the most expensive. So if you don't have Imperm, obviously cards like Valor could work out. Valor could work out. Solemn Judgment could work as well if need be. But Imperm definitely need Imperms. Definitely. 3 copies of Awakening of the Sacred Beast. This is one of the most hilarious, one of the most broken cards you will ever see. If you guys have never seen this card before, its effect reads: this card gains these effects based on the number of Sacred Beasts with different names you control. So if you have 1 Sacred Beast, each time your opponent normal or special summons a monster, gain life points equal to the attack of that monster. If you have 2 of the Sacred Beasts, negate the activated effects of monsters your opponent controls. If you have all 3, any monsters sent to your opponent's graveyard are banished instead. So not only is this a skill drain, but it's also a Dark Law mixed in with a Poison of the Old Man, actually. And what I mean by Poison of the Old Man is that you gain life points. You gain the life points. That's it. That is how insane this card really is. You want to try and maximize having all 3 out, all 3 on board, mixed in with I'll say Skyfire and Spirit Gates and Fallen Paradise, or Mounds of Mount Creator. If you have all those on board with all 3 Sacred Beasts on board, you essentially just win. You essentially just win the duel. Your opponent won't be able to. Your opponent won't have any outs to it, especially given the fact that you will have the dangers in your hand. You're gonna have Monster Reborn in the hand, called by Super Poly, your hand traps as well, your Ash, your Ogre, your Bells. Your opponent won't be able to play any form of Yu-Gi-Oh with that type of power. And then to round out the main deck, we got 2 copies of Solemn Warning. So this is a 45 build. I wanted to try and make it a 45 build, because obviously you guys know decks like this usually require to be at 45. I've seen some Sacred Beast decks where it goes to 50, even maxed out at 60, which is pretty crazy. But 45 definitely the better way to go, because if you don't open with the Sacred Beast, with 3 Sacred Beasts, but you have Dark Beckoning Beasts and Chaos Summoning Beasts, you have your combo pieces right off the bat, which is pretty cool. Moving on into the extra deck, I'm actually gonna go backwards. So links to fusions. So for the links, we have the 1 Link Karibo, mainly because of the fact that I don't know, maybe the fact that Chaos Summoning Beast is a 1-star. This card basically helps Link Karibo. Plain simple. And then of course we got the Nightmares. We got Cerberus, Phoenix, and Unicorn. Cerberus focuses on monsters that were special summoned, which is pretty cool. Phoenix focuses on the back row, which is really cool. And then Unicorn is basically it's a trap dust shoot, if you will. And what's even more cool about this is that if you have all 3 co-linked together, you essentially just get 3 cards right off the bat. Even if you have 2, you still get Apothecary, which is really nice. And then of course the big link monster that you need to have in this deck is Access Code Talker. Obviously, if you don't have access to Access Code Talker, cards like Avermax, cards like Bulbasaur could also work out, but Access Code Talker is the one card that you need to have in this deck, because this is basically this is basically a board wipe. It's essentially a board wipe, which is really cool. Now for the first Waken the Dragon target, it is Cyber Dragon Infinity. It does say that you need three level 6 lights, but you don't. But the way to bypass it is use Waking the Dragon. It's insane. And what do you do when you have Cyber Dragon Infinity? You go into Zeus. Plain and simple. Plain and simple. Not much else to say about that. Now for my rank 8. I am running a couple of rank 8s, mainly because I do have the dangers with I do have the Bigfoot and the and the Thunderbird. So for the rank 8, I am running number 23, Lancelot, Dark Knight of the Underworld. This is a really cool one. So its effect reads: this card can attack your opponent directly while it has Xyz materials. When this card inflicts battle damage to your opponent, you can target a face-up monster your opponent controls and destroy it. Once per turn during either player's turn, when a spell or trap or another monster effect is activated, detach 1 material, negate the activation. So not only is this is basically a double board wipe of sorts. So what's cool about this is that when it deals damage to your opponent, you can just pop one of your opponent's monsters, and then when your opponent activates, like, say, I don't know, Dark Hole, detach a material, it's negated. Plain and simple. And then we got number 107, Galaxy Eyes Tachyon Dragon. It's Tachyon Dragon, don't have to say anything else about it. The one, Gustav Max, again, this is basically a way to help end games. If you have the right amount of damage dealt to your opponent. But if not, you can always go into Libe, which is pretty cool. But if Libe gets negated, then you attack with Libe, go into Zeus, and you easily have a board have what? Two board wipes right there. But you're mainly going to be using Zeus. You're mainly going to be summoning Zeus off of Cyber Infinity, because Cyber Infinity will help you gain more and more and more and more materials. And the more materials you have, the more board wipes you will have for Zeus. And what's cool about this is that if you have Fallen Paradise or Mount of the Bound Creator and a Sacred Beast on board, hello, Zeus won't be able. I don't think. Yeah. Mainly. So yeah. Your Sacred Beast will remain intact, and you will have even more damage on board, which is just absolutely insane. And then for the second Waking the Dragon target, we actually have Cyphering Lord Omega. It's basically just a second insurance policy that your dark monsters go back into your graveyard, which is really cool. And plus, not only that, it's a 2800 beat stick, so there's not much else to say about that. And then of course, Starving Venom, which is basically the super poly target. And then the two Armor Tile fusions, we got the original and Phantom of Fury. Not much else to say about them as well. Moving on into the side deck, this is a weird one. The side deck can be pretty much anything you want. But I decided to go with this solely because of the fact that I don't want my opponent to banish any of my cards, activate their back row, or anything like that. So this side deck, in my opinion, is incredible. So we have 2 Artifact Scythe, 2 Lancia, 2 Ghost Ogre, 1 Feather Duster, 2 Lightning Storm, 2 Artifact Sanctum, 2 Zing Zang Hu, and 2 Solemn Strike. Artifact Scythe is basically a Buster Lock. So it locks your opponent from summoning monsters from the extra deck for the rest of the turn. So if your opponent destroys this while it was set to your back row and it gets summoned during their turn, they cannot summon anything from their extra deck. So the only thing that they'll have to do is just send pass, plain and simple. Lancia is basically the counter to call by. So if this card gets destroyed, if this card gets destroyed while it was set and you were able to summon it during your opponent's turn, Lancia just prevents cards from being banished, which is just insane, which is really good. But interestingly enough, if it worked during your turn, it would have been 10 times more broken because your opponent would not be able to activate Call By to negate your Ash Blossom, which is just insane. It would just be insane. But it wouldn't really matter anyway because that the effect would be activated during their turn. If they were to activate a card like say Allure, you can Ash them without getting called by, which is just really good. And then Ghost Ogre just pairs so well with the Ash and the Bell. Not much else to say about that. The Feather Duster and the Lightning Storm are just some additional back row removal, just in case if the Bigfoot and the Thunderbirds don't work out. The Storms and the Duster is just there as an added insurance policy. Sanctum is there to help you get out your artifacts to go into your link plays, which is really cool. And then Zing Zing Hu is a way to stop your opponent from activating their back row when they're set. So the effect reads: activated by selecting 2 set spell or trap cards on the field. The selected back row cannot be activated. So if they set, I'll say Judgment and let's say Imperm, they don't get activated right off the bat, which is insane. And then of course the Solemn Strike. It's basically Solemn Warning, but even better. Honestly, not much else to say about that. But guys, that will do it for today's video. Let me know in the comments below your guys' thoughts on this deck. Because honestly, this deck is just absolutely insane. This deck is absolutely insane. Not much else to say about that. But that will do it for today's video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. If you did, make sure you guys smash that thumbs up button if you guys are new to the channel and you guys want to see more deck profiles in the future. Make sure you guys subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell so you guys do not miss out on any new content that comes your way. And be sure to follow me on Twitter and on Instagram. All the links will be down in the description below. And if you guys have any family you want to send me and want me to open up on the channel, my info will also be in the description as well. And on that, this is your boy Nash, signing out.